All right, now, as we now know, the ANC Integrity Committee will today release its report on the Phala saga. There's been divisions among the ANC top brass over the matter. Meanwhile, former Women's League President Bathabile Dlamine's NEC hopes have been crushed. Dlamini was told she can't contest as she's a convicted felon. To unpack this, I'm joined by political analyst Lukhanyo Vangqa. Lukhanyo, good morning and thank you very much for your time. So all eyes on the ANC's Integrity Commission today as to whether their report has found that the president has brought the party into disrepute or not. But judging by the never-ending debates on this matter, would you say the handling of Phala may have brought their party into disrepute?
Good morning, Fundo. Thank you for inviting me to share my perspective. I think it's both of them. It's the fact of Phala itself and the criminality that is alleged to have happened there, where people stored money under mattresses and couches, large sums of now seemingly, undisclosed US dollars. The fact that the people that stole that money were then tortured and were kidnapped and then tortured. So that act in itself has brought the party into disrepute, and the fact that it's their president that did this. Secondly, the handling of the situation, right, from two perspectives there as well. The fact that when the president found out the money was missing, there was an apparent cover-up that happened where he did not disclose this or report the case, and also ordered a clandestine, according to the prima facie findings of the expert panel, ordered a clandestine operation to hunt down the thieves. And also the fact that he kept quiet and didn't take the public into his confidence, didn't take the NEC into his confidence, didn't take anyone important really into his confidence to explain what are the circumstances surrounding what had happened in Phala. So all those confluence of issues had led to the ANC's reputation being severely damaged in the public eye.
Mm-hmm. So you're of the view that possibly this will find against him, this particular report today?
Yes, I'm on that view, and that view, Mfundo, is informed by the fact that the Integrity Commission's report, the draft report, had earlier leaked, where there was a finding to that effect in that provisional report, that the Phala issue has indeed brought the ANC into disrepute. Now, what was outstanding is who then was responsible for that act of bringing the ANC into disrepute. And then George Mashamba goes into all the possible culprits, the president himself, Arthur Fraser for having reported the matter, and also how the matter was subsequently handled. So today, I think there might be some finality to exactly who then takes culpability for what happened at Phala. And I believe it was the president's farm, and therefore, ultimately, the buck stops with the president.
Mm-hmm. And then what could this mean for his prospects now going into Nasrec?
Well, it depends on what the electoral committee does with the report, because remember, one of the rules of the electoral committee is that there must not be a negative finding against you, either by a court of law or by the DC processes of the ANC, and I believe even by the integrity committee of the ANC. So if the electoral committee was to write a love letter to President Ramaphosa after the release of this report to say, well, looking at recent developments, you therefore no longer qualify to stand for ANC president next week when the conference sits.
Mm-hmm. That would honestly be something that sends his particular supporters into a tailspin if it were to happen, because I read a letter by the ANC veterans, they themselves, the Veterans League, they themselves are saying that anybody implicated by a court of law and even by the Integrity Commission should actually not stand for any position.
Yeah, that's correct, and that's my understanding as well of the ANC's new electoral rules that say if you have been found either guilty or there's a negative finding against you, either by a court of law or you've been charged, or by a DC of the ANC or even the the Integrity Committee, then you don't qualify to stand for any position in the ANC's leadership. So that would really put sort of an end to the president's aspirations for a second term. But I believe his supporters then will coalesce around Paul Mashatile for him to stand as president and contest with Zweli Mkhize there. And then I think they would all throw their lot behind Paul Mashatile.
Why so? Because just looking at what is in the media space, we have some sort of a slate still, in as much as they say they've done away with slates, we still have a slate that is doing the rounds on social media, and it still does not have a Paul Mashatile there. It's Senzo Mkhunu, who would deputize the president. We also have Fikile Mbalula there. We have Phoebe Potgieter, and we also have for TG, we have a TG there that is not part of any other camp but that of the president's.
I think that slate is the slate that was created by Derek Hanekom and Gungubele, and I don't think they have that much sway inside of the ANC. It's the provincial leaders that really have a sway, and that's how we've seen the nominations list come. Where the provinces is pronounced for particular individuals, that's how their provinces have nominated in terms of branch nominations. So where really the power block lies is within the provincial leaders of the ANC. And I think they will be convening later after the NEC meeting that is going to sit today for them to consolidate their slates. And I believe as a plan B, they will throw their weight behind Paul Mashatile over Senzo Mkhunu, who didn't even qualify to make it onto the ballot. So that tells you that it doesn't really have that much support on the ground.
But they seem to be adamant, at least those that have drafted that particular slate, still seem to be adamant that their candidates will be raised from the floor, be it Gwen Ramaphosa or anybody else that is that didn't make it currently onto that list of nominees. So where does that actually place them? Because others could think that just having a slate itself would be to that faction's detriment, because you still see an Oscar Mabuyane, who's very supportive of the president, not featuring anywhere on that slate. And like you say, Paul Mashatile, who seems to be a firm favorite of many within the ANC, not being on that slate. Does it not cause further divisions?
So one of the things I've always said, Mfundo, is that the next conference will not be contested by a fight back from the faction that lost the previous conference. It will be contested by a fragmentation within the faction that had won the conference, now going into the second conference. For example, all the people that you see contesting there are people that supported President Ramaphosa in 2017. So Oscar Mabuyane contesting Ronald Lamula, Stan Matabata contesting Gwedemandashe, all come from the same slate. So there's a fragmentation of the faction of Sir Ramaphosa, and they're now beginning to contest each other the way the Zuma faction did in Mangaung, with Tokyo Sefale, Matthews Posa, and Sir Ramaphosa then, stood against each other, and Kgalema Motlanthe stood against President Zuma. So there's a fragmentation within the faction that had previously won Nasrec, and now going into this one, we can see those divisions. So those divisions do exist, and that's a reality. But the difference is the people that are insisting on this slate, the initial slate of the renewal slate, Derek Hanekom, Gungubele, what numbers do they control in real fact? What is the base that they bring into those negotiations over a person like Oscar Mabuyane, who brings a province behind him, Stan Matabata, who brings a province behind him, or even Mpumalanga, Ronald Lamula, who bring that province behind him. So those people bring real branch delegates into the conversation, and I don't see what Derek Hanekom or Gungubele would be able to offer or to bargain with during those negotiations, where those slates are finally consolidated.